We have an absolutely huge show befitting this packed house. This preview panel is going to go over a whopping 4 sets for this year. 4. Now, before we get to that, I want to get a little bit of a vibe check. I'm from Minnesota. I want to know how many Midwesterners are here. Yeah. Salt of the earth, good people. We love it. So 2024 has a little bit of something for every Magic fan, especially Midwesterners. The 4 that we are going to focus on today, and I want to hear who's here for each of these sets. So we are going to talk about Bloomburrow today. Who's excited for? Yeah. Yeah. We are going to talk about, and I'm going to raise my hand here. We are going to talk about Assassin's Creed. We are going to talk about Modern Horizons 3. Yeah. And the next set coming out, we are going to talk about Outlaws of Thunder Junction and Oko's abs. All right. To do that, I'm going to bring on 3 fantastic panelists. If you've been following along, you know who they are. Let's bring on Aaron Forsythe, Mark Rosewater, and Roy Graham. All right, gentlemen. So you all have been on these panels before. You're on dozens of panels. They may know who you are, but let's introduce ourselves anyway, starting with Aaron.
Yeah, hi, I'm Aaron. I'm in charge of the game design and world building teams at Wizards.
I'm Mark Rosewater. I'm the head designer for Magic. I celebrated my 20th anniversary in that role last year. And this is my 29th year working at Wizards.
Congratulations.
Not bad. I'm Roy. I'm the story lead on Magic the Gathering.
Yeah. So we're going to hear about card design. We're going to hear the story. And yes, we are going to show you a ton of preview cards from all 4 sets. We're going to go in reverse chronological order. So Bloomburrow's the furthest of the 4 sets away. Mark, why don't you give us a quick overview of what is going on with the microphones? And then Mark will talk about what is going on with Bloomburrow.
One of the things we like to do is we like to look at different genres.
I don't know that you're on.
Are you hearing me?
No.
No, you're not hearing me.
Are you hearing me? Yes.
They cannot hear me. Can you hear me now? Okay, so we like to look at a lot of different genres. So there's a very popular genre, the anamorphic.
Oh, we got a microphone coming right up
genre.
here. There we go. Use that.
Okay, so genre. There's a lot of different examples of it. The idea is they're kind of like humans, but instead of humans, they're animals. Now, Magic, with one exception, Lorwyn Block was the only exception, every Magic set we've ever done has had humans in it. This, other than Lorwyn, is the first set to never, there's no humans in it. It's just animals. So what we've done is there are 10 2-color archetypes, each one assigned to a different animal. And I can't give away all of them, but you'll see some pictures to give you some clues. I will say my personal one, my favorite is rabbits. That's my favorite, so. Draft the rabbit deck, it's good.
All right, now, Roy, tell us, so we know that the the world is made up of cute, furry animals, but give us an overview of the world and kind of the story that we're running into here.
Sure, right. So obviously we don't want to give away too much of the story right now, but these animals, they're cute. They live in this pastoral fantasy world, and they're threatened not by each other as much, but by these earth-shaking, gigantic elemental beings known as calamity beasts. Huge predators that wreak like a disaster on the scale of natural disasters as they move through the landscape. And here you see Maha, the eclipse owl, the endless night, or it's Feather's night, my bad. And Maha is on a rampage through the otherwise peaceful world of Bloomburrow, and it's up to a brave group of animal folk warriors and mystics and all of that to try and put a stop to the rampage of this calamity beast.
All right, so let's meet some of those individual characters.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're looking at Glarb. Glarb, who is
the
king of the
names
frogs.
in this set are just top notch. This isn't even the best name that we're going to show today.
Yes, here we have Glarb, powerful wizard and king of the frogs of Bloomburrow. Yeah, note frogs.
The frog.
The frogs.
Yeah.
Next we have Mabel. Mabel is actually our main character for this story and the person who will be following most closely. She's both the scion of this mighty and storied group of warriors, the Order of the Holly Leaf. You can see she's carrying a sword that's been passed down through generations, carved from the tooth of a calamity beast. And she's also a mom of 3 adorable little mouselings. And Mabel is going to be gathering this group of animal folk who are willing to, set aside their comfortable lives and venture out into the dangerous parts of Bloomburrow in order to save their neighbors and do what it takes to stop the rampage of the calamity beast. So you have Hugs here, an old badger warrior. You have Phineas, who's a rabbit. Rabbits. Who's set aside his comfortable life on the farm to go help with his trusty bow. You have Zoraline, who is a cleric of the Order of Bats that are like a religious group in Bloomburrow. And they're going to have some help from a source you might not expect. Who's that handsome otter?
Such a handsome otter. Name's Ral. I'm sure that's a coincidence. All right, let's take. We only have a couple preview cards from this set since it's so far away, but we're going to show off a few of them. Mark, why don't you introduce us to Mabel's card?
Okay, so the idea is we're divided into 10 two-color pairs. Each of the two-color pairs has what we'll call a light typal theme. For example, white and red are mice. This is the mouse card. And the idea is if you draft all the mice and put them together, it'll make a cohesive deck. The mice are in red and white. Might be aggressive, I'm not going to say, but and so the idea is each of the animal themes, if you draft that animal theme, you can play them cohesively together in a deck. There is some light typo. It's not very heavy, but there's some light typo, like Mabel. And one of the fun things about this is the set is the most. It is the cutest set we've probably ever made. It is an adorable set.
It is an adorable set. Now I want to point out, so we've got that showcase woodland treatment there in the middle, the borderless raised foil anime on the right, but I want to also call out David Peterson as one of the artists, if you recognize that name for this set. So we've got some fantastic art in this set.
And if you go back and look through recent sets, you'll notice that there have been some mice that we've printed in Eldraine and other sets that are red and white. So there have been clues planted in previous sets as to what these animals are going to be in the hopes that that'll all add up to a constructed deck that uses cards from many different sets.
Yeah, for fun, if you guys want to online, pick the 10 two-color pairs, look at what we've made, and see if you can predict what the 10 two-color pairs are. Mice are red-white, that's a gimme.
There you go. Free space. Next up, let's take a look at one of the Calamity Beasts. Mark, can you introduce us to Lumra?
Okay, so one of the things about this world is sort of the default human of the world are the mice. Like the little mouse Mabel, the entire scale of power toughness is based on that being like a 1/1. So a bear in a normal world might be a 2/2, but not in this world. A bear is huge. And so as we can see here, this is equal to how much land you have in play, I believe. So it gets really, really big.
Yeah. And Roy, can you tell us any more about the Calamity Beasts?
Oh, well, it's, I don't want to give up too much, but they're like I said, they're going to be rampaging through Bloomburrow, and it's going to be up to Mabel and her heroic team to try and stop them.
Can they save the day? We can't give that away.
We'll find out.
So the Calamity Beasts and some others are going to get their own treatments as well. We have that borderless field notes in the middle, the borderless on the far right, and the all-star artist I'm going to point out here is Mitsuhiro Arita. Yeah. We also did something pretty cool with the basic lands in this one. So we're only showing the mountain today because there's 4 versions, 1 for each season.
We did make all 5 basic lands.
We did make all 5, yeah. So whatever season, that animal in that picture is very patient. It just sits there all year. Roy, can you tease this last piece? This is the last thing we're going to show from Bloomburrow, but I think it'll get a reaction. Can you tease this a little bit?
Oh, sure. Well, you may have noticed on the RAL card, when a planeswalker comes to this world, they become anthropomorphized. And RAL, might not be the only planeswalker we'll see in this set.
Okay, good to know. Yeah. There's no name on this card, so I don't know what it is. It could be
I have no
anything.
idea.
Yeah. Take your guesses, people.
All right. We are going to move on to, again, the partnership I'm most excited about we have coming up, which is Magic the Gathering's take on Assassin's Creed.
Ooh.
And for this set, I'm going to need you all to please step into the Animus. So, Aaron, why don't you tell us a little bit about this card and working with our partners here?
Right, so this is the Animus, the kind of, it turns your legends into copies of dead legends, which is basically the entire idea behind how Assassin's Creed as an intellectual property works. We had a great partnership with Ubisoft. We put material into this set that covers almost every game in the franchise, and did our best to bring the conflict between the Assassins and Templars to life.
Yeah. So this set's a little different. Can you tell us about the makeup of the set?
Yeah, so it's small. It's only 100 cards, 80 of which are new. And it's going to be legal in Modern and Commander and Legacy, the way Lord of the Rings was. And it's got 80 new cards that represent the various different assassins and characters and items and weapons and places that you've seen throughout the various games. And then there are also 20 flavorful reprints that we picked specifically that fit well into this world and reskinned those with Assassin's Creed Creative.
Yep, and so here we're seeing our Edward Kenway, popular one.
Right, so we have characters from Black Flag, characters from Valhalla.
Yep, Eivor.
So pick your favorite Assassin's Creed game, and we've got...
And now there is a buy a box card, which is quite obvious in retrospect.
Oh, yes. I mean, you can't have Assassin's Creed without the Hidden Blade. So if you buy a box at your LGS, you'll get this card to go along with it. And as you see by reading the text, we're leaning pretty hard into assassin matters, assassin type will build around effects here, because obviously that's who all the main characters are.
Yeah. Now, if you're like me and I've played every console game. I haven't played some of the mobile games, I admit. But you will find your favorite character in this set. Of course, there's going to be a healthy dose of Ezio. We've got some art here. In fact, there may be a couple versions. And we might as well show this card off.
Let's do it.
Show a card.
So, Aaron, free running, that's something you do in the game. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. Tell us about Ezio here.
Yeah, so this is the showcase version of Ezio. This is the memory corridor frame. There will be a normal looking version of this card that will have reminder text for free running, but as we do on our fancy versions, we left that off here, but I believe I have memorized it. So free running is a keyword that lets you cast a spell for a reduced cost if you hit your opponent with an assassin this turn or with your commander this turn. So plug into a variety of decks, both in modern constructed format and in Commander. They work really well. Ezio here, 2 mana, 3/2 menace, already a great stat line. Gives all of your assassins free running for only 2 black. And then he's got this awesome, killing blow move for 1 mana of each color, can eliminate a player that's at a low life total. And that also enables him to be a commander for a 5-color assassin deck.
Yeah. Now, I want to point out here, so you're talking about Ezio as a commander here, which obviously makes sense, but this set is modern legal as well, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Yep. So we're gonna see some cards that'll matter for that as well. I do want to, again, I'm fanboying out a little bit here, but obviously Ezio is maybe the most popular character, but we've also got the first, Altair. And we're gonna show his card off too, because it's sweet.
Yeah, Altair's the OG assassin, going all the way back to the very first game. He has an ability that also plays into that genetic memory space like the Animus does. This by bringing back, temporary copies of previously deceased legends.
Yeah, and we're focusing on. Oh, there we go. We're focusing on some of the past assassins here, but we are going to see some of the modern day ones as well. So those will be in the set. And Aaron, tell us a little bit about the 20 reprints.
Yeah, so when you have an IP like Assassin's Creed that covers so much ground, there's going to be great reprints that fit thematically into that. So we scoured, lists of most played cards in people's Commander decks and in modern decks and found ones that fit really seamlessly into the Assassin's Creed creative, including some deep cuts here like Cover of Darkness from Onslaught, which we haven't reprinted in a while. Yeah. Just perfect, just perfect, and you'll be able to get these in packs.
Yeah, and I love the flavor of that Temporal Trespass, which you pick up in the flavor text, which are the precursors, speaking to the modern day person through their past ancestor, which is really cool. Now, one of the unique aspects of Assassin's Creed, Aaron, is that it dives into sort of pseudo-real history, certainly talking about real historical figures. How did we handle that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of why the franchise is so cool, that it interweaves real-world history with, the fiction around their characters. So we had a long series of talks in the department about, are we going to make Magic cards of real historical figures? That's not something we've really done very much. You'd have to go all the way back to Portal 3 Kingdoms, maybe Arabian Nights, depending on how you want to interpret some of those. But we figured, you know what? There's no way we could execute on Assassin's Creed without some real historical figures. And who wouldn't want to make a commander deck of Leonardo da Vinci? So.
Now, one of those, Aaron, is serialized and not in English. What's going on there?
Right. So the real-world figures, there's, I think, 4 of them in the set. Those are the cards we've chosen to make serialized and collector boosters. And the serial versions are all in that character's native script. So all of the serialized Leonardo da Vinci's are in Italian.
Yep. And our second historical figure, you got
Cleopatra.
Yeah, you got a little clever with
that.
that.
Yeah, all of her serialized cards are in her native script of Greek. So she was from Greece. She became Queen of Egypt. There's a nod to the Egyptian part of that with the cartouche flavor text at the bottom, but historical accuracy demanded that we use Greek script here, and it's been many, many years since we've published a card in the Greek language.
Yep, and Cleopatra played a big role in Origins, which I'm just saying because I know these things. I like Assassin's Creed. What can I say? Okay, now one thing that we brought back for this set, Aaron, were scene cards. How did we handle that for this set?
Yeah, so the scenes, meaning borderless cards whose art all links together in kind of a mosaic, went over really well with Lord of the Rings. We figured it could be a thing that we do for most of our Universes Beyond partners. So we did one here. There's one scene in Assassin's Creed. It's Ezio perched on a high rooftop, looking out over a vista of ancient Rome. So it's a 6-card scene. This is one corner of that. The other 5 are a cycle of lands. We're not going to tell you which cycle it is. You can mull that one over for a while, but added together, it's an incredible panorama showing the entire city.
And again, if you play the game, you've been here many, many times. This is Ezio synchronizing, as you do constantly. Now, if someone you know, or if you are an Assassin's Creed fan, but you're new to Magic, how do we get them into that?
Yeah, so one of the reasons that I love Universes Beyond as an extension of Magic is it's a great gateway into our game. So if you have a friend that loves Assassin's Creed and hasn't tried out Magic, we have a product, a starter kit, 2 decks, 2 fixed decks, much like we did for Lord of the Rings. Terrific way to introduce them, get them to try out Magic. It's got simpler versions of some of the characters as the face cards. So you can play the blue-black assassin deck on the left, which is more stealthy and cunning, or you can play the red-white assassin deck on the right, which is more kind of brutally cut you in half. So whichever style you prefer. But this product worked super well for us with Lord of the Rings. We sold way more than we expected. So thank you to anyone out there who taught a friend or got their husband or child into Magic through this. And we think Assassin's Creed is going to be another great way to do that.
Yep. And of course, we've already seen the main set version of Ezio. Eivor will have a main set version as well. Now, before we go, two things. There will also be an Assassin's Creed Secret Lair later this year, so look for that. And again, just if you're a fan of this set, there's going to be so much that resonates with you. Like our last card that just, it's so perfect. It's so perfect.
Another thing I love about Universes Beyond is it gives us material to make these really sweet top-down designs that I don't know that we would have ever approached in mainline Magic. Like I don't know that there would have ever been a set that wanted a haystack in a traditional Magic set, but we got to execute on it here. Assassins love to hide in those. Phasing, perfect way to make your creature hide for a turn. Super fun card, super flavorful. Chef's kiss on this one.
Yeah, and we might as well take a look at the product lineup. It's pretty clean here. We've got the Beyond boosters, collector boosters, the bundle, and the starter kit. All right. Now let's move on to a highly anticipated set. So, Mark, introduce this set that needs no introduction.
Okay, so Modern Horizons, the entire idea behind it was we could do a supplemental set that uses, it's a little higher in complexity, and the idea is we have access to all the mechanics of Magic's past. But Modern Horizons and Modern Horizons 2 had access to almost everything, but there's one thing we didn't do, which was double face cards. And so we now have access to it, and because of that, we're able to do some things that we've been wanting to do. For example, one of the most frequent requests I get is people loved the planeswalkers, the legendary creatures that turned into planeswalkers in Magic Origins. Well, would you guys like another cycle of those? One of them might be a Johnny.
The other one is a character we recently lost. Roy, what's Tamio doing here?
Well, okay, so in the same way that Mark was saying, the Modern Horizons sets have access to mechanics from Magic's past, we also have access to stories and characters from Magic's history. So Tamio, for those paying attention to the story, they know we lost Tamio during the Phyrexian invasion. But we never explored the story of her sparking and her becoming a planeswalker. So Modern Horizons was a really perfect opportunity to do that. Here you see Tamio as like a young scholar who discovers a book from outside of her home plane of Kamigawa. And this book sparks her mind as she realizes the possibilities of the multiverse, you know?
I love that she was sparked by a book.
Yeah, nerd.
Like knowledge sparked her, that's great.
All right, and Modern Horizons 3, Aaron, is coming out just in time for what now?
MagicCon in Amsterdam.
Yeah, and the Pro Tour there. So
That's
that Pro
right.
Tour is going to be modern. And now, we're saying that, but you might be looking at the art here.
Well,
saying like...
Before we get to that, so
Yeah.
Modern Pro Tour, drafting Modern Horizons 3 at that Pro Tour. You will also be able to draft this set on Arena.
Yep.
The set's coming to Arena, unlike its predecessors. Modern Horizons 1 and 2 were not there. We worked this out with the Arena team well in advance. We're like, you want this, we want this, let's make it happen. They did, and it's going to be super awesome.
Yeah, Modern Horizons 3 on Arena, including this particular spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
So Aaron, tell us about the... Emrakul's here, but tell us about the Eldrazi in this set.
In a similar vein to Roy talking about us being able to go back and pull Tamio from history and make a new card of her, Emrakul's trapped in the moon on Innistrad. The other two Titans have been dispatched in other ways. But we know they're popular characters. There are still cool cards to be made of them. And colorless mana as a mechanic is something that we think there's an audience for. It does have some fun gameplay, but it's not something we want to weave into a standard set, at least not right now. So this was a perfect set to bring that whole package back. Eldrazi, colorless mana, new versions of the Titans, and as you can see here, even the full art basic lands are themed with our favorite creepy, horrific spaghetti monsters. That swamp kills me. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Am I
that
crazy,
swamp
or
is
does she
great.
look closer in the swamp?
Yeah, run.
That mountain's pretty imposing as well. And yeah, creepy freaking forest. All right, let's see all 5. There we go. All right, now, Modern Horizons 3, obviously, we're going to have a lot of cool cards, Aaron, but we also brought some things back.
Yeah, so I was the lead designer for Modern Horizons 2, so you're welcome / I'm sorry, depending on how you feel about that. But in that set, the 5 enemy fetch lands that were originally Zendikar, were the only cards in the set that were not new to Modern. They were the only Modern legal reprints that we put into that set. Those went over super well. Players were very excited to get their hands on more copies of them. Why not run it back? So here we go. Modern Horizons 3 has the Allied fetches. So normal version, borderless full art, and retro version. Funny enough, these cards already exist in retro version because they're originally from Onslaught, but we have new art here for you to enjoy in those frames.
Yep. And we might as well show you all 5.
Yep. No tricks here. All 5 are here.
All right, now, we talked about the double-faced planeswalkers earlier, and we aren't going to tease that and then not pay that off by not showing one. So we are going to take a look at a Johnny's card. And Roy, because this card is so story-specific, tell us what part of a Johnny's story this is representing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the really cool things about the legends that go into Planeswalkers is it's telling a character's story in one card, right? You see like an arc beginning to an end. So here we have a Johnny's legend card is about him being a pariah from his clan, his tribe. As an albino catfolk Leonin, he is rejected by everyone that he knows except for Jazal, his brother, who is tragically taken from him and killed. This is a Johnny's sparking moment. And you see this reflected in the mechanical design too, which is just so cool. You want to talk about that, Mark? Or
Well, I mean, one of the things that's fun about it is, like, for game purposes, we don't name the character that dies, obviously, but it hints that something dying is what causes the transformation. And notice that he has 2 good eyes, because this is before he injures the one eye. And so it's fun. I really like the look backs because we really get to learn something about the character, and that a lot of people, if you've played Magic since way back when, this story did happen. Like in Alara, Shards of Alara, the story happened, but not everyone's been playing since Shards of Alara.
Which means that the Ajani Planeswalker that we'll see in a second here might look a little different than the
It's
Ajani
been a while
that
since
people
we've
are.
had Angry Ajani. So
Yeah.
let's see an Angry Ajani.
Yeah, it's been a while since we had Angry Ajani.
Yeah, not so wise in this one.
Aaron, talk a little bit about the mechanics and the design on this one.
Yeah, so you'll notice the front was a mono white card that's going to allow it to be played in any deck that has white mana. We wanted the back to represent a change, them getting a second color. For Johnny here, it was red, so it has a red color indicator. So the back is red and white, which would allow you to use it as a commander, say in a red-white deck. But we were looking for some mechanical way to pay off the redness because we couldn't. We can't put a mana cost on the back of the Planeswalker. So the middle ability, and this is true on the whole cycle, the middle ability rewards you for having other red cards in your deck. So if you have another red permanent in play when you use that ability, not only you get to make a token, but you also get to deal some damage. So it has some functionality in a deck with red mana and a powered up functionality in one with access to red.
Yeah, and there's both sides together. All right. Aaron, you mentioned earlier some kind of returning mechanics. Can you give us a preview of what one or two of those are going to be?
Yeah, so another one that we're bringing back is one that you'll be seeing in the Fallout preview, if you stick around for that, energy. So this is another mechanic that we've looked for opportunities to bring back in standard sets. One hasn't materialized, and so we figured, hey, let's just pull the trigger and put some here. You really need a critical mass of energy cards in one environment in order to make the whole package work. And because all of the original Kaladesh block cards are already in Modern, there's already a foundation here for these cards to plug into. So yeah, there's a couple draft archetypes in the set that focus around energy, and you'll see some new twists on that as well.
And if you've been paying attention, you might guess what the next mechanic is that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Colorless mana, including this strangely off-putting colorless retro frame. It's like familiar and yet strange all at the same time.
All right.
Yeah, there's plenty of opportunity. I mean, obviously, the various Eldrazi Tron decks that are really good in Modern now are going to get some new toys with this set.
New toys like a new Emrakul.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a weird card, Aaron.
It is a weird card. I mean, Emrakul, is one of the most epic villains Magic has ever had. She's had two cards, both of which have been, absurd in various ways. So it was a real challenge coming up with a third version of that character that was equally as absurd. But you'll see here the madness cost on this card of 6 colorless mana, the most, colorless intense cost we've ever put on a card. And the ability is just crazy. Steal all your opponent's stuff. You can't target it with spells or things that came into the battlefield this turn, so you can't, banishing light it or anything like that, or hit it. Any permanent that would try to exile it is going to fail. So you are getting your money's worth for this mana cost on this crazy card.
Yep. And befitting its craziness, we made a few different versions, including Aaron serialized.
Yep. Collector boosters will have a serialized version. We did this concept art thing in Phyrexia All Will Be One that worked really well. So those are the two arts, retro, foil etched, all kind of cool stuff with this card.
Yep. Now, take a moment to soak that one in. And then one of my favorite things about the Modern Horizons set, because I'm old, are the puns for older cards. So we got to say this next preview card out loud. Introducing Psychic Frog.
All right, so here's Psychic Frog.
Psychic Frog.
Psychotog was an old standard deck from many, many years ago that was very popular, kind of hardcore control deck that could one-shot you with its namesake creature. Psychotog itself, I don't think would have the chops to be a player in Modern these days, so we kind of updated it. Now when you discard cards, this thing gets permanently bigger. You can give it flying by exiling stuff from your graveyard to make sure it hits your opponent. And we decided to reconcept it as something, equally crazy looking, as a little nod to the original. So here's a Psychic Frog.
Yeah, we wanted to lead with the psychedelic version.
Yeah,
Sure.
over-the-top version.
There is a main version and a retro.
I don't know if
version
this frog fits into Bloomburrow so well, but
it would not be a Bloomburrow frog. I don't know, Roy, Bloomburrow.
Weird neighbor.
That might not be the frog colors.
It might not. Yeah. Maybe it is. I don't know. Or I don't know. Now, Aaron, lead designer, Modern Horizons 2, had some free spells in it that were both exciting and saw some criticism for. So
Yep.
you stayed away from that, right?
no. Name a more iconic duo. Free spells in Modern Horizons. There is a different twist this time. They're not pitch spells from your hand like the Evoke Elementals or like the Force of Negation cycle. These require you to sacrifice a non-token creature in order to cast them for free. So it does require some battlefield commitment. This one is not reactive. You can actually use this as an explosive ramp spell by playing a green 1-drop. Some of the other ones they're instant. Some of the other ones are instant, so they play differently. But this was a new take on free spell that we're pretty excited to roll out here.
Yeah. Again, we're going to go to the section of the presentation that's for the old people like me. These are the cards that are reprints but are new to Modern. Give us a taste of what we've got.
Yeah, so we've done this in both of the other Horizon sets. We comb through the archives of Magic cards that are not legal in Modern because they're too old, or from supplementary products, and try to find a smattering of them to add to the format. Some of them are, power players that we think are actually going to move the needle. Some of them are just more nostalgic, fun things. This one's kind of right in the middle.
I know my crowd. I knew that was getting that
any elf
reaction.
player
Yeah.
from long ago, back when I was playing Standard, remembers this card very fondly.
Yeah, I made this card.
Awesome. There it is. We get to run it back, even with the original art. So super feels around this one.
Mm-hmm. And you also mentioned we pulled some from supplemental products.
Yeah. So all of the various Commander decks and supplemental sets that we've made are not legal in Modern, but they are full of some sweet cards that we think players would really enjoy trying out in Modern. Lelia being one of them. Really powerful legendary creature. Here's some cool portrait style extended art, and then the etched foil frame as well. So there's one reprint per pack, and it could be one of these two, or we have many, many more to show you later.
Absolutely. All right, that's our look at Modern Horizons. Now, our next major set coming out. I forgot my cowboy hat at home.
Giddy up.
Giddy up. Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So, Mark, give us the overview.
Okay, so one of the things that happened in the Phyrexian War is the cosmology of the multiverse changed. And what that meant for us behind the scenes is we could do some things we couldn't do before. So one of the ideas we really liked was, imagine we took a theme and then we could get things from across the multiverse and bring them together so that all those things could be in the same place at the same time. That theme that we chose was villains. So the idea was, let's get villains from across the multiverse and bring them together. And where better to put it than a setting that we've been trying to do literally for like 15 years, like an American Western setting. Mm-hmm. And what better for Outlaws, for villains, than that setting? And so it just was a perfect marriage, and we brought them together and made what I think is a super fun set. This is the set that I led the vision for, and I'm really excited to talk about it because it's super fun.
Yeah. So, Roy, what can you tell us about the world that we're about to head into?
Right. So again, we don't want to spoil too much going into this, but Outlaws of Thunder Junction is set on an unspoiled plane where Omen Paths have freshly connected it to the rest of the multiverse. So you have people from planes all over flooding in to make their fortune and start a new life on the expansive Western-themed plane of Thunder Junction.
By the way, the plane is called Thunder Junction.
Yeah.
People keep asking that. The people who live there, that's what they named it, so it's called Thunder Junction.
Yeah, and I think you can really see the flavor and theme of this world building echoing through these basic lands here.
Yep. That's why we like to show them off. All right, Roy, I have another question for you. We've seen Oko in some art. Oko's there. Did he find his shirt?
Well, he found a hat. Yeah, who better to take us into a villain-themed set than one of the most notorious thieves in Magic the Gathering, Oko himself?
Absolutely. Why not show him off? We'll give you all a moment to digest that, but you're probably going to freeze a little bit on that +1 ability and be like, what's a crime? What's a crime, Mark?
Okay, so one of the things I talked about that we started doing for Murders of Karlov Manor is this general philosophy of we want to put the right words on the cards, that the words are the most evocative they can be. The idea of, we talked about you can become suspected, or that there's cases you have to solve. So the idea that we were really fascinated by was if we're doing a villain plane, what do villains do? They commit crimes. That's almost their definition. So we were fascinated by the idea of, could we make something, I wanted to say on a card, if you've committed a crime, something happens. But we wanted it to be backward compatible. We didn't want to be something that only this set did. So let me explain. Here's what a crime is. Any spell or ability that targets an opponent or their stuff, their permanents, their spells, cards in graveyard, that is a crime. That's what a crime is. You
You're
pair
all
their
criminals.
creature,
You're
you've committed
all
a crime.
criminals.
You counter their spell, you've committed a crime. And so the idea is that it's something in which Magic does. Not every card does it. Not every card's a crime, but it allows it to be this backward compatible thing. And so you mess with your opponent, you're committing a crime.
Oko, Thief of Crowns, definitely was committing crimes back then. Yeah. Now, befitting a villain set in the American West, these characters are going to be wanted, and we're going to show that on some of the treatments. Got that wanted poster in the middle. And then
Yeah, Oko's gang gets that treatment for their showcase frames.
Oko's gang. So Oko's got a gang there, Roy, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oko did not come to Thunder Junction alone. He recruited some of the baddest of the bad to help him pull off the greatest heist in the history of the multiverse.
And we're going to meet them in a moment. I jumped ahead a little bit. We're going to meet them in a moment because we also do have an example of a crime in the set, Mark.
Yes, well, I mean, once again, as long as you target your opponent or their stuff, you've committed a crime. And so we make a lot of effort within this set to make cards that can... Now, note, not every card always is a crime. You have to target your opponent or their stuff. Some cards let you choose, and so you could choose to do things that aren't crime, or you can do the thing that is a crime. So
Yes.
not every card that commits a crime always commits a crime. You have to opt into committing the crime.
You can make
Yeah.
giant growth a crime, right?
Yes. You can make giant growth into a crime.
Speaking of crimes and criminals and the posse that I tried to jump ahead to, we got to meet the cutest member of Oko's posse.
Show me the skeleton. Now, Oko is a hell of a thief himself, but Tiny Bones is no slouch either. He is the pickpocket for the group and is, with his nimble little skeletal fingers,
From the plane of Jumpstart.
all the way to Thunder Junction, yeah.
Also, notice, by the way, he removes stuff from your opponent's graveyard. Targeting your cards in your opponent's graveyard is committing a crime. So he is committing a crime.
Is committing a crime. All right, so we're not going to see preview cards for them, but let's meet the rest of Oko's gang.
Sure thing. So next up, we have Annie Flash. She's a newcomer to the plane, or newcomer to Magic, rather. Everyone is a newcomer to the plane. Annie Flash is part of the Ateen tribe, which is a nomadic people that are based on the Dine or the Navajo tribe. We worked with a cultural consultant to create them, and Annie is a veteran outlaw who has tried to hang up her hat a couple of times over the course of her career as an outlaw, but just keeps getting dragged back into one last job.
Yeah. Now, for the last several sets in what we've called the Omen Path arc, we've sort of been following Kellen around, but this might be the end of that. Yeah, maybe?
Well, yeah, those of you who've been paying attention know that our next character, sentient golden retriever, half-fae, tumbling semi-randomly through the multiverse in search of, has been doing all this in search of his father, Oko, who he's never known. We know Oko's in the set, so one way or another, it seems like Kellen's quest is going to end in this set.
They might meet.
I mean, I sure hope so. We also have a returning character who fans may recognize.
We haven't
Yeah.
seen Vraska in a hot minute.
Yeah, she's been gone for a while, huh? When did we last see her? She was under the weather.
Yeah, she didn't feel good.
No. Wonder what she's
got
doing
better.
here. Next up,
Next up,
we have a favorite from the same plane
Why
as
not?
Vraska, Rakdos, guild leader for the Cult of Rakdos, ancient demon Perun, troublemaker, in the red corner, weighing in at 2,000 pounds of pure flaming muscle.
he's
this guy.
just there to have a good time.
Oh yeah,
Just to have a good time.
make
Okay,
other people
now,
have a bad time.
Mark, we've talked about crimes.
Yep.
Can you tell us about the bonus sheet tied to that mechanic?
We can. So this set has a bonus sheet. So the theme of the bonus sheet, it's all reprint cards, but all of them can commit crimes.
For
So
example,
right. So for example, Thoughtseize.
now, Mark, what's the legality on these before?
Okay,
people-
so the way this works is these are legal in any format that they're legal in. This does not make them legal in new formats, but it allows you to play them in any format you can already play them.
Yeah.
And there's a whole sheet. So every pack will have one slot that is the reprint slot. So you will get the crime sheet shows up one per pack. And so every pack has a crime in it. At least one. There's probably more, but.
So it works like Strixhaven
Yeah.
and Brothers War.
Right, there's one, from the sheet, there's one per pack.
All right, and next we have the most obvious card on the crimes sheet.
So I just got the question on my blog, would you ever do a treatment on split cards? And I answered, yes, we would. So I did not lie.
Right, and this treatment is the breaking news treatment. So all of these crimes are, headlines of awful things that have happened out on the frontier.
There's been crime, there's been punishment.
And then-
Oh, by the way, crime is a crime and punishment is not. So.
Yeah, makes sense. And on the right is the collector booster exclusive. They have a gorgeous foil treatment that we can't quite capture in a PowerPoint slide, but when you
Yep.
get your hands on them, the ones on the right there are amazing.
We'll get some videos of those up eventually.
Yeah, our production team has been doing really cool work with
Yeah.
new treatments and stuff. The problem is you have to see them. They're very hard to
Yep.
show off.
But they're gorgeous. Now, before we get to this next preview card, because this takes it's very story focused. Roy, can you expand a little bit on what Oko and the gang are looking for?
Right. So I mentioned that Oko and his crew of bad guys are here to commit a heist, the greatest heist the multiverse has ever seen. The heist involves the vault at the center of Thunder Junction, an ancient treasure trove locked away at the center of the plane that no one up till now has been able to open. And inside that treasure trove are some pretty sweet things.
Yeah, so of course we're gonna let you all break into the vault. Now, if you watched Weekly MTG a couple weeks ago, we talked about epilogue boosters and how we had done that with Aftermath and then decided to move away from it and taken those epilogue cards and put them into Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So this is what we're calling the Vault. You'll also see it called the Big Score, which is the name of the mini set of cards. They're gonna have their own 3-letter code, which is big, which is great. And these are gonna show up essentially in the slot where the list is. So that's a lot of explanation. Let's just show the cool card though.
And these are new designs.
These are
cards.
new
Yep.
designs, all coming to standard.
Inside the vault was the secret 11th sword you didn't know existed.
Sword of Wealth and Power. Yeah, so the idea here is there are tons of really powerful relics in this vault, and they're looking to steal them.
That's right.
and a few other surprises. But yeah, you'll note the expansion symbol here is the vault door. These cards are all standard legal. You don't get them one per pack or anything like that. They're much more scarce than that. But yeah, so we have some really cool treatments for those as well.
Yep. And because this is so cool, there's about 40 of these, not about, there are 40 of these cards. There are exactly 40 of these cards. Let's show one more. Let's show Nexus of Becoming.
Yeah, so some of the artifacts in there are references to things you may recognize, and some of them are just fantastic new devices that Oko or you, the player, are going to have to figure out the best thing to do with.
Yeah. So that's almost all the preview cards we have.
One
We have-
more?
We have one more. So Outlaws of Thunder Junction, just to let you all know, previews are going to start in earnest on the 26th of March. So tune in on that day to see more of this really cool set. But yeah, until then, have fun at the convention and don't get lost.
So I do want to point out one thing. So you guys know I love to do teasers. So you'll notice this card references plot. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I will tell you it's a new mechanic. I will tell you it's a very cool mechanic. But we'll let you guys talk amongst yourselves. What does plot do?
Okay, so what's their homework, Mark? It's figure out what all the animals are in Bloomburrow.
You didn't know there'd be homework when you came to the show. So.
All right. You're going to want to stay where you are or come back very soon because the final Fallout panel is starting in about, we'll say about 38 minutes, I think, where they're going to reveal the rest of the final deck. I think it's Science. And
Go Science.
Science. So we will see you then. Thanks, everyone.